This video is going to be another repair and upgrade for the Kubota ZD28 72-inch. I'm trying to solve two problems here. One of which is I've been having to use the Ryobi, which has been great. It's been doing a really good job of pumping up this tire every time I go to mow. As you can see, it's a fairly new tire. I have an airless tire on the other side, and I wanted to get another pair of those. The problem is the Kubota airless tires are prohibitively expensive. So I'm going to see if I can take these aftermarket flat-free wheels and tires and put them here on the Kubota. Here's one of the Kubota flat-frees. It obviously fits very well, but the tread is literally coming off of it. I've used it so much. Right away, you can see the hub is different. We're going to overcome that. And I'm not going to need this wonderful, useful machine anymore, unless one of these brand new tires on the back starts going flat again. If you stay tuned to the end of the video, I'll put a link to my Kubota playlist where I show you how to do upgrades like this fancy water separator filter. Looks like they are at least the height that was advertised. That's good. Looks like they're not quite the width that they were advertised, but it'll be easier for me to fit something in here that has a little more room on either side than it would to fit something that's too wide. They do have a grease fitting and bearings comes with them. They also come with all these adapters and bearings here and a bunch of washers. That's not going to be enough spacers for what I'm doing. You'll notice that these bearings have a smaller inside diameter than these bearings, so they can work on two different size bolt / axles. Now they say 15 by 6 by 6. Let's just see about that. I've got actually more like 14, which is the same as these originals. So I don't know why they do that. They're 15, they're really 14. And then across here, it's more like 5 1/4, which these down here that are supposed to be 6, the pneumatic or the one with air is like 6 1/2. And this really old airless, this Kubota, is right at 6 as advertised. And obviously there's a lot more rim here than the originals and less tire, so it's a more low profile tire. And the rim seems to be 8 3/4 from edge to edge. Look from the center out, we've got about 4 3/8. Some of these measurements don't matter to the project that I'm doing, but I just want you to know everything there is to know about these so that you don't have to spend your money on them to see if they're going to work for your project when I've already spent my money. And yes, in case they do seem like they'll fit what you're trying to do, I will leave a link for them in the description. But I don't want you to have to spend your money on them if they're not going to work. And I've noticed that most listings for these kind of things don't give enough measurement. Speaking of which, this does seem to stick out exactly the same amount from one side to the other. So it's not offset at all. It's not offset to one side or the other. They're both sticking out the same amount, which is not enough on both sides for me. I'm going to have to space it out. And I don't know how much they stick out from the center line, but this protrusion right here is almost exactly 1 inch from here to here. It's probably 1.5 inches from center line. I've got this set up where I use the jack, push it up, and I put a safety stand here just in case. And I took the big pin out over there and put it through here to hold this still, so while I'm working it can't just spin around and pinch. We've got a 3/4 for the head of the bolt, which is also the axle. I've pulled this out so I can turn this around. You can see there's a nut on the other side, which I have a 3/4 deep well I'm going to use on that. I could use just 2 wrenches, so 2 3/4 wrenches is really all that you would need. But since I have the nice little Ryobi and a deep well wrench, I'm going to use it because it's going to spin it off of there quite quickly. Just like that. I'm going to spin this back around and use this pin to lock it in place. Because I can't think of any way it can hurt me moving around, but I don't want to find out the hard way that I'm wrong about that. There's the nut. Pull that shaft out, drop that out. Look how easy that is. Now, even though I'm just mocking this up the first time, I want to put my grease fitting to the outside where this is swept back towards me. The grease fitting lined up with this, because if I'm driving the thing forward and park it, that'll leave it parked with the grease fitting out, so I can more easily grease this. I want to see if this is going to fit, and look, there's a lot of slop there, so these are not the bearings that I want to use. These are not the droids we're looking for. So let's just see just how far off we are here. Oh yeah, a lot of space. Let me bring you over here and show you. Now, I'm not so much concerned with this little bit of space here and here. I can deal with that. Looks like it's still going to have a big enough footprint on the lawn. Not too worried about that, but geez, look at all that space and all that space. That's a lot. So let's see if we can overcome that. By the way, if you ever come across any of these that have wheels that bolt together instead of being welded together, or whatever they've done with this, that can come apart, I'd like to know about them, because there are some of these flat free tires that are available separately, but I don't have any rims that come apart that you could put the tires on, and I don't know where to get them. So in the comments, a link or a description of where you're finding them would be great. And of course, if I ever get some of those and figure out how to make them fit on here, I will make a video about that too, so that the rest of you will all know about it as well. See, these wheels don't come apart either. My first step in overcoming this gap is you can't just slide it to one side and then measure from here to there and split that measurement in half, because the problem you have over here is there's still space right here. Now, I suppose you could measure that space, add it to the measurement here, and then split that in half, but I think it'd be easier to measure if we just try to center it a little bit, and then I'll measure from here to here, from here to here, add that together, and then split it in half. But before I get those measurements, I want to swap out these bearings and get the bearing situation straightened out, where I have some bearings that fit on the shaft perfectly, in case I end up with bearings sticking in or out further than what they are now. It looks like these other bearings with the smaller inside diameter that came with the wheels are still a bit too large. So in thinking about using the bearings out of here, I discovered that we actually have a sleeve here. Look at the size of that. This might solve our problem. Let's see. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. Don't even have to change the bearings in it. Now that would still leave this to slide back and forth in between the forks. So we still have to have a spacer over top of this going from here. But this also gives us a measurement that we need, because I can pull this to where it's flush right there, and then measure from here to the tip of here, and then split that measurement in half, and that tells me how much I need to space out on either side. Isn't that handy? So nice. This just keeps getting better and better. Look at this. Almost exactly 3 1/4 inches. Unfortunately, Tigger, the shop cat, is not at all impressed. He would much rather someone be paying attention to him. Isn't that right, Tigger? So shop cat's hunting for stuff with a 3/4 inch inside diameter. And look at how filthy he got looking. But come up with this so far. But I'm thinking I'm going to go to Lowe's or Home Depot and look through the plumbing section and see if I can find a long piece of plumbing similar to this and just cut it to the lengths that I need. You'd think with a collection like this I'd have everything I need, especially with piles and piles like this, but nope, and nope, and nope. But let me know if you know from experience what would happen the moment I threw some of this stuff away. I almost found something, but the inside diameter is a little bit too big because it's such a thin pipe. But yeah, that if it had just been the right diameter, could have cut that up. Okay, it costs a little bit more than PVC, but I ended up getting copper pipe because it's going to hold up better and it looks better too. And I guess all those head injuries are catching up with me, because it wasn't like 1 5/8. It was more like 1 3/4 on each side. Or maybe it was because I was born in the late 60s on an Air Force base, and I was breathing all kinds of questionable stuff. And then, even after civilian life, we were all, as kids in the 70s, breathing a bunch of lead in the air, and lead in the dust in the house from the lead paint and stuff. So, and lead is, I'm making excuses. I just messed up on my math is all it is. That's what it was. I need to get better at doing the math, and then I won't make as many mistakes. Right? Right. Suck it up, own it, and do the math better. Which I did, and now I got 1 3/4 over here. It looks pretty darn centered, and I'm doing this slowly. I'm only edging up on it a little bit because I don't want a big curl here. I want it to cut almost like I'm cutting it with a Sawzall. But this little pipe cutter gives a much smoother cut. At some point here, without even noticing it, it'll just kind of pop off there. Yep, and hit the ground. Hopefully it didn't dent the thing. Yeah, look what a nice cut that gives. We've got this nice brass spacer. It turned out that it's 3/4 pipe that has the right inside diameter too. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, I'm gonna have to drop this all the way out to get this spacer on here too. All right, so, and I need to flip it around because I won't. Nope. Yeah. Yeah, need to flip it around because I want my grease fitting to the outside. Just going to be to right here. Just set that up in there. Oh yeah, that fits. It's right in there. There's just a tiny bit of free play there. So I'm going to grab another washer. Pull that back out. I know I'm kind of nitpicking here because it's just a tiny bit of free play, but hey, you know, if you got the stuff to make it pretty much perfect, why not? Over there. Oh, yeah, that's kind of a tight fit now. That ought to do it. Yeah, look at that. All right. Get the nutty nut back on there. 3/4 wrench. Right there. Little Ryobi. Let's see what we got. Yeah. And out. Now, I will be running these during operation, and I'll come back and I'll pin a comment to the top about how well they're doing in operation, because I don't want anybody buying these if they're just going to, you know, roll off the rim after, you know, 2 or 3 uses. And so give me a chance to find out, you know, by the time this video goes into operation, I will have run these at least a half a dozen times. Over 3 acres. I'm mowing 3 acres with this, so they're going to get some use. And like I said, I'll put a comment there letting you know how they're doing, and I'll also say something in this. Now see, I can't talk anymore. I'll say something in the description of the video to let you know how they're holding up. But there you go. That's the solution right there. Just some copper pipe, 3/4 copper pipe, makes really great spacers, makes up for the fact that the hub don't stick way out there. The bearings that it come with work just fine because it's got a sleeve in here. I'm hoping if you're working on a Kubota, it's got that same sleeve let me know in the comments. And there you go. I'll make another shorter, sweeter video on the other side when I do it. Hey, if you like this video, we got a whole lot more. We got tool reviews, we've got repair videos, we've got show car videos, hot rods, mod rods, you name it. If it's got wheels on it and an engine, it's probably on this channel. So subscribe, like, and binge watch Saneauto. Binge watch Saneauto. Do not attempt anything you see or hear in this video. Serious injury or death may occur. Saneauto and or Victor Sane cannot guarantee against improper use or unauthorized modifications of this information. Saneauto and or Victor Sane assumes no liability for property damage or injury incurred as a result of any of the information contained in this video. Use this information at your own risk. Saneauto recommends safe practices when working on vehicles and or with tools seen or implied in this video. No information contained in this video shall create any expressed or implied warranty or guarantee of any particular result. Any injury, damage, or loss that may result from improper use of these tools, equipment, or from the information contained in this video is the sole responsibility of the user and not Saneauto nor Victor Sane. In layman's terms, please don't do anything you see me do in my videos. You could end up burnt, bruised, and bleeding just like me. This site contains affiliate links for which I may be compensated.